Let's see here. Are we live? I don't know. Okay. Sweet. I guess we're going. The dude that sucks at things. Okay. Well, already starting off with some good stuff here. All right, what's up, everybody? I guess this thing is going right now, and so I'm going to be discussing the part 2 of Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time, because last week I was only able to get through the first 100, and yeah, it took a lot longer than I thought it would, so just getting everything set up right now. All right, so let me pull this list up and we can get started. Only 3 people? Come on now. Waiting for more people to join. How is everybody's night going? I hope it is going well. Mine is going okay. I just got done shopping at Walmart, which is just a wonderful place. Wonderful place to be at. All right, let's see here. I also want to talk about their 2003 list, like I was mentioning on my community, the community area on Facebook, because their 2003 list, the order on some of the albums are just so different than what's up, Corey? So different than the 2020 edition of the Rolling Stones thing. Rolling Stones 500 greatest. Sorry, I am never like prepared for these things at all. That guy's right, I do suck at things, which is clearly evident here. All right, let's pull it up. Pull it up. I've seen some people do online since I've done my whole thing. I've seen people like the Needle Drop do videos about their about this whole Rolling Stone thing. I saw somebody do a stream on about this Rolling Stone list, and it was like an 8-hour stream, and I have no idea how the hell you do that. That is a long ass. That's like a whole day of work, like 7 hours of talking about these albums. I would never want to do that. So these are broken up into like 1 or 2 hour little junkets. By the way, my mic randomly cut off last time we did this, so definitely let me know if that happens again in the chat, and I'll have to switch to the shitty webcam audio. Yeah, the fluorescent light in Walmart is crazy. It's like there's like 500 lights up in there. Come on, more than 5 people. Current viewers. Last time I had like 20 or 30, but then again, I feel like I did give a little bit more notice than I did this time around. And I kind of changed the time that I said I was going to stream. I said 8, and then I changed it to 9:30, so I could go do the grocery shopping. I'll give just a few more moments, and then I'll just get into this list here, so I can get done while we're all young. I guess I'll go ahead and start commenting on the 2000, and let's just take a look at some of the. Let's just take a look at like the top 20. In 2003, the 2003 Rolling Stone list. So here we go. All right. So this is the list from 2003. And in at number 1 is the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And it's kind of, this is what you would expect. It's one of those things where I feel like it's, it's kind of gotten popular to hate the Beatles, or not hate them, but be like, oh, the Beatles are overrated, and it's not as hip, to say the Sgt. Pepper's is the best album of all time, considering, how ahead of its time that it was and all that. So, I understand them wanting to bump it from number one, but I still can't get over the whole Marvin Gaye What's Going On as being the number one album of all time. And again, I've already commented on this in the past, but Rolling Stone is a super left-leaning magazine. They always have been, but in the last 5 years, with how society has gone, they've gotten so fucking woke with everything and so politically correct, and they just literally pander to social justice warriors, and the list totally reflects that. This isn't the list that I'm talking about right here. This is the list from 2003, back when they were a little bit more sane with their choices. Although I will say there's a little bit of Beatles worship in here. I mean, number 3 is Revolver. You got Dylan. 5. So 3 of the top 5 albums of all time, according to Rolling Stone, were all Beatles albums. I mean, I think that's some bullshit, quite frankly. And then we see in at number 6 in 2003 was What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, which I think is a lot more appropriate than number 1. Rolling Stone, Exile on Main Street in the 2020 edition. This was way down the list. This is about in the same exact position from 2003 to 2020. The Clash record. This album was a lot further down on the list in 2020. Look at that art, dude. That album cover. Look how blurry that picture is. I know I'm zooming in, and I'm not talking about being pixelated because I'm zoomed in, but God, that picture is shit. Why did Dylan go with that for his album cover? Anyway, again, we're looking at a 2003 list here, and we're just briefly mentioning how much it has changed since 2020, the 2020 edition that I'm about to resume back into. The Beatles' White Album is number 10. So in the top 10 albums of all time in 2003, the Beatles had 4 of those spots. That's a little ridiculous. Elvis in at number 11, he got shot way down because I think that again, with the whole wokeness, I think he's kind of a controversial figure now because apparently he was a racist back in the day. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, Velvet Underground is higher up than what? Oh, in at number 15, another fucking Beatles album. Oh yeah, Bob Dylan was doing a lot of drugs at the time. Well, that would make sense why. Yeah, that looks fine, man. Yeah, I'm high as fuck right now. In this 2003 list, it's all the usual suspects that you would expect to see. Hendrix, Beatles, Dylan. Nirvana actually went up a lot in 2020, which does make me happy because I don't want to show the baby's winky because I don't want to get demonetized. I'm happy that the Nirvana record came up in prominence because that's the kind of music that I like. It's getting closer to kind of music I like. Of course, got Springsteen is still high up there. Joni Mitchell is number 3 in the 2020 list. We still haven't run into her yet. She's way down the list on this 2003 one. The Who is in 28 in the 2021. They're all the way down there. I mean, we've already run into several Zeppelin records and all that before we finally get to Joni Mitchell. But again, the woke nature of society nowadays, they probably were forced to add a woman artist high up on the list, whether it was... And like I said, I listened to that album by Joni Mitchell, and it's just... I don't like that hippie folk shit to begin with, but it's just... I try to listen objectively as possible, and I just thought it was just a really... It grated on my fucking ears. Man, this list loved goddamn Dylan, Stones, and the Beatles. Oh, man, the band, Music from Big Pink, this was way down the list in 2020. All right, anyway. So, yeah, the list... Oh, yeah, and now you got Pink Floyd at 43. Anyway, I'd say over... Oh, okay, this is another thing I want to point out. This Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, in at 48. In at 48 in the 2003 list. The Rolling Stone 2020 version, the woke ass 2.0, Rolling Stone 2020 list? You want to know where that fucking Public Enemy record is? Let's see here. Lauryn Hill in at number 10. Kiss my ass. 15. Number 15. From 2003. They're at 48. And then, flash forward 17 years later, they've jumped up to top 20 albums of all time. I listened to this whole album since doing this last video. This album, some songs are good, but it's fucking goofy, man. It doesn't age. It hasn't aged well at all. Flava Flav has some songs that he does on the album, and he's just blathering incoherent nonsense on a lot of it. Just like talking about, I can't even remember because he was just spouting nonsense on the track. And yet, because they were more of a politically charged band or rap group, and they are rappers, and that music's really popular right now, they are literally just, I don't know, dude. The pandering on this shit is just so annoying. Anyway, I guess we're not going to have as many viewers this time around as we did last time. This stream's... Okay. Wait, what? I'm sorry, I'm getting a bunch of weird messages from YouTube right now. It keeps telling me crappy connection strength, good connection strength. Anyway. Yeah, whatever. All right, let's get back to this list here. Again, guys, please tell me if... yeah, I agree, Corey. Compilations are absolutely cop-outs. Dude, what is going on with this stream? It says it's in excellent condition. Why do we got no one looking at this shit? I guess Tuesday wasn't the best time to do it. Whatever. Plowing ahead. That's what you gotta love about YouTube, man. Just in general. It's like I have 6,000 subscribers and I got like 5 people watching my stream right now. Gotta love YouTube. And their algorithms. Or maybe you just don't like watching me try to like figure out my streams. Which I would understand. So anyway, let's get back to this. I know I've said it for the 17,000th time. All right, so in at number 101, we have Led Zeppelin by Led Zeppelin, 1969. Basically, at this point, I'm going to spend less time kind of pissing and moaning about the order of like where it's at, unless it's like just a classic, like fantastic album that I really like that is just criminally in a low spot. And I'm just going to kind of spend more time, because now that we're out of the top 100, does it really, does it really matter what order things are in now? We're getting in such just existential territory here. Shout out to Chris. What's up, man? Thanks for watching the stream. So I'm not really going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they put it in this position. I'm more or less just going to talk about the album and if I, feel like it should have been higher or lower. Pretty much any classic rock band, like a band like Led Zeppelin, I feel that they should have been much higher because they invented a lot of what rock music is now. But as we know, Rolling Stone hates rock and roll music because they want that younger demographic, and the younger demographic only cares about rap now for the most part. So they're going to start discrediting these albums as the future goes on, because they want to be cool and hip, which is annoying. But anyway, yeah, this Led Zeppelin album should have been a lot higher on the list. I mean, like I said, it really kind of started everything, but what are you gonna do? At number 2, we have the Clash's self-titled album. This was a defining album for this band. This was a defining band for the time that they were around. And I don't really listen to the Clash, to be honest. I don't really like punk music all that much, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. So moving on, De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising at number 103. I know this was like a more of an influential band in the early 90s, with their kind of more positive take on rap and hip hop. which I feel like we don't have enough of because it's not cool to be positive and, you know, non-violent apparently. But you know, this was, and they were kind of doing that whole jazz rap thing too that Tribe Called Quest was also doing at the time. Whatever, you know, like I said, now that we're past 100, I'm not gonna like piss and moan as much about positions, you know, here on the chart here. 104, we have Rolling Stone's Sticky Fingers. I've always heard that this is a great album. So, of course, and they're a classic band who, you know, pretty much planted the seeds for so many bands that came after them. So this probably should have been higher on the list. I think that's disgusting that you can see the dude's cock in his jeans right there, and I hate that mentality that of you know, cock rock and roll, and it's all about the size of your dick, man. Like I hate that mentality that rock used to have. The Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. What is this, a live album? Yeah. That's weird that a live album would make it into this list before a studio album, but whatever. I'm sure that's a classic record. The Allman Brothers is a classic band. I think this is the first Allman Brothers album that has made the list so far. Up next, we have Hole, Live Through This. This album came out a few days after Cobain died or was found or whatever. So it's kind of an ironic title. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like the Hole songs that I have heard, I've liked. Courtney Love's kind of one of those characters like Kanye West or Axl Rose. She seems like a complete asshole, but and that's what has honestly kept me from listening to Hole. I mean, not to mention like all the legal litigation that Courtney Love put Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic through with Nirvana when they were trying to release some of the unreleased material in the early 2000s. Courtney was, you know, all like not wanting to release it, and it's just like, bro, you weren't in the fucking band. Go away. Like, that's so annoying when the wives or the girlfriends, or I mean, I guess girlfriends wouldn't have any sway, but like when the wives of like deceased like rock stars will try to be like, oh no, I don't want to release this or whatever, you know, when they're versing the band members, like the band members that are still alive, and it's like, dude, they were in the band with the guy. Like, they should have more say than your ass, who literally just jumped along for the ride. But anyway, that's just my opinion. So yeah, I don't want to like Courtney Love, but I'm not gonna lie, and I like all the Whole songs I've heard so far. Moving on, 107. This is a band that I've been meaning and kind of wanting to get into. Television. They were apparently like a more rock-oriented version of the Velvet Underground. I've not heard any of their material. Someone out there, let me know if Television is a group worth listening to. Up next, we have Fiona Apple, Win the Pawn. I'm not sure if this is the album that Criminal came off of. That's honestly the only Fiona Apple song I know, and I like it. She seems like she's more of like a deeper pop artist, if you will. Like, she's not as, you know, she's more of a deep thinker and more, you know, more intelligent than a lot of her pop contemporaries were at the time. I would be interested in giving her music more of a chance. I do remember seeing that album cover everywhere when oh, good. Thanks for that comment, Corey. I'll check out Television. Yeah, I remember seeing that weird face that she's making, that creepy ass smile. I saw that in CD stores everywhere growing up. 109, we got Lou Reed's Transformer. Lou Reed from formerly of the Velvet Underground. He went solo, and the only Lou Reed song I really know is Take a Walk on the Wild Side or whatever. Yeah, it's fine. I don't like Lou Reed's voice, though, I gotta say. He did a Peter Gabriel, let me talk to the people right now. Peter Gabriel did an album, I think back in like 2011 or 2012, and it was called Scratch My Back, or yeah, Scratch My Back, and then he was going to release an album called And I'll Scratch Yours. So Scratch My Back was him doing covers of artists that he really liked, and then in exchange, which was, I'll admit, a little presumptuous on Peter Gabriel's part, in exchange for him doing a cover of the artist's song, then the artist would cover one of his songs, which to me is a little bit arrogant. That's like me, you know, well, I'm not popular in any way, shape, or form, or famous, but like if I was, and I hit up like the Smashing Pumpkins and I covered one of their songs, and I'm like, all right, Billy Corgan, I know you don't know me that well, but we're both kind of famous. Now you have to cover one of my songs. So anyway, Lou Reed actually played along, and he covered Salisbury Hill, and he just fucked that song all up covering that song. So kind of disliked him from that point on. His voice is an acquired taste, I guess. All right, so up next we have What's Up Jams 1987. Thanks for tuning in. Up next we have Joni Mitchell, Court and Spark. I got nothing to say about this album. I listened to Blue and I did not like it. I don't know. If she's got anything that's more modern sounding, like, let me know and I'll check it out, but I'm not impressed by anything I've heard by her. Janet Jackson, Control. This is the first Janet Jackson album that we've seen on the list. Yeah, I'll give it up for Janet. You know, she was a great pop star in her own right. She, you know, was the only other Jackson who was able to successfully get out from underneath Michael Jackson's huge shadow. And she's been able to maintain a career this whole time. She's got some songs that I like. You know, good for her. Probably a good album, I'm assuming. I haven't listened to it. You know, I know Elton John was technically just like a pop star to a lot of people. But I don't know, for whatever reason, his music's always meant a lot to me. He's one of those guys that, like, I've talked about this before in my other YouTube videos. He's one of those guys that, like, his hit songs are fucking, like, immaculate, and his non-hit songs, just his regular album tracks, are usually not so great. They're hit or miss. But Goodbye Yellow Brick Road was his crowning achievement. You know, not my favorite album that he put out, but it's, you know, critically considered his best album that he's done. And to put it all the way down to like fucking 112, and I still can't get over the fact that D'Angelo, the R&B singer who had one like hit song that I know of, I still can't believe how high up on the list they put him. He was like number 20 or something on this list. And as I go through this Rolling Stone list, I'm just reminded of all the albums that are lesser albums than D'Angelo's album. Like, literally, Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road isn't as good as fucking D'Angelo's album they did in 2000. It's just, all of Led Zeppelin's albums aren't as good as D'Angelo's album. And a lot of you are probably saying, who the fuck is D'Angelo? Exactly. You know, who the fuck is he? Yeah, I love Primus. Jerry was a race car driver, so drove so goddamn fast. All right, moving on. That really saddens me that Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John got all... And you know, that's not very woke of Rolling Stone, by the way, because Elton John is a gay man, and he's always advocated for gay rights, and... I mean, I guess, you know, I guess their agenda isn't... I guess that's not the flavor of the month for Rolling Stone this year. I guess it's... Whatever, I'm not even going to get into all that. Let's just keep moving on here. And have me shut up before I get canceled. In at number 113, The Smiths, The Queen is Dead. I accidentally bought this album on vinyl. I meant to buy it on CD. So, and I know a thing called Spotify exists, so I could just listen to it on there. I like The Smiths in general. They have, you know, There Is a Light That Never Dies on this album, which is a great song. Great lyrics. Meat is Murder, I think, would have been a better choice, personally. I don't know. What do you guys think? And it should have been a lot higher on the list, because, I mean, that really influenced, like, emo music, and, you know, like, it came out all the way back in the 80s, and it just influenced a lot of artists. Very influential album. A hell of a lot more influential than Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, that they felt needed to go so high up on this list. But, and guys, and if you think I'm being, like, whatever towards Public Enemy, go and listen to that fucking album and tell me. I mean, the first, like, song or two is good, but there's so much shit on there that Flavor Flav just completely ruins with his ridiculousness. Anyway, The Strokes, 114, Is This It? Now, obviously, this probably made it on the 2003 Rolling Stone list, but it was probably like 500 or in the 400s, because it had just come out and didn't stand the test of time. I will say this album has seemed to stand the test of time. You know, that whole time where there was all those the bands, it was like this weird point from like 2000 to like 2005. It didn't last long, but it was definitely a fad. The White Stripes, the Vines, the Strokes, the Hives. Sum 41 even did a video, I want to say it was Still Waiting, where they were lampooning those bands, and they were called the Sums. I mean, that's how much of a trend that it was becoming with the bands, is what they called them. And the Strokes were just one of those many, and they all had a similar sound too. It was like that jangly 70s kind of glam rock kind of feel to it. And the AIDS. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think the Strokes and the White Stripes were the two bands that kind of stood the test of time out of that whole the thing. Let me get this fucking 2003 list out of here. Get out of my sight. How's my live stream doing? All right, great. All right. Yeah, Sum 41 kind of sucked. They were never my thing. I think it was the lead singer. I didn't really like his voice. In at number 115, we got Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. This album... Oh, sorry about that. This album was all right. I mean, I did listen to it. It was not nearly as good as To Pimp a Butterfly, which was, you know, my favorite album that he's ever done. It's one of my, like, top 20 favorite albums of all time, period. But, you know, of course, you know, whenever you release a landmark album, like, say, Nirvana's Nevermind or Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly, the critics are immediately going to go into your back catalog and your future catalog, and they're going to find what you do more valid just because you put out one album that happened to be really great. And that's definitely the case here, because if he had never done To Pimp a Butterfly, I don't think this would be nearly as high up on the list. The Cure, Disintegration, geez, really? Number 116, an album that, again, kind of started the whole emo, kind of, didn't start goth music by any means, but it definitely made it, like, I think as they put in the this little blurb here, like the stadium goth rock would be a great way to describe this album, because, I mean, that's kind of what the deal was. I mean, it was like stadium level goth stuff. I mean, you know, I'll take the Smiths any day over the Cure. The Cure they're good, and they have some good songs, but they're just a little, I don't know, their music got old to me pretty quick. Was it Robert Smith, the lead singer? His voice, the mopiness of his voice got kind of old to me, kind of like Morrissey's voice a little bit more, if we're talking, you know, those kind of gothy, mopey bands of the 1980s. All right, moving on. In at number 117, we have Kanye West's Late Registration. All these stupid college-themed album names that he did in the 2000s when he first came out, I didn't care for any of them. I didn't like the hits off them. I didn't start liking Kanye and truly appreciating his music until he put out Yeezus, which is like this industrial rap album. I couldn't believe like how experimental he got with his beats, and I'm like, damn, okay. And then I went back and I listened to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and I really like that album as well. And then 808s and Heartbreaks is kind of the last Kanye, as far back as I can go in the Kanye kind of library before his rap. Like all these albums, like College Dropout, Late Registration, all that is just, I didn't care for any of those albums. All right, moving on. 118, The Eagles' Hotel California. Now, I can tell you on Rolling Stone 2003 list, this was in like the top 30. I mean, this was so much higher up on the list 17 years ago. I mean, it has dropped way down. I think everyone's like just equally tired of the Eagles at this point. They're just so played out, man. I mean, every single one of their goddamn songs is played on, the golden oldies radio stations. You hear them in the dentist office. I mean, Hotel California, in my opinion, the song itself is one of the greatest songs of all time. But for fuck's sake, if I haven't heard it a billion times, I can't. I mean, and they have some other okay songs too. And this album, you think with a song like Hotel California that in this eerie image of the album of that hotel, you would think this album would be like creepier, but no, this album is like almost country at some points. It's so soft rock. Like Hotel California and like Life in the Fast Lane are like the two edgiest songs on this album. Oh yeah, Corey just mentioned, I definitely prefer Don Henley's solo stuff way more than this. He has that song Down at the Sunset Grill. It's such a creepy song, but I love it. It's got that weird synthiness and that cool little synth solo at the end. What happened to why when the 80s turned into the 90s and the 90s turned into the new millennium, why did everyone just give up the synthesizer? I don't understand that. Anyway, in at number 119, Sly and the Family Stone, Stand. I don't know. I mean, I know very little about Sly and the Family Stone. I don't really care that much about Sly and the Family Stone. So I don't really have anything to say, but man, what a name for a song right here. If you guys can't see it, I'll zoom in for you. Look at that. It's kind of hilarious. I feel like you could still do a song like that nowadays and no one would bat an eye. Anyway, in at number 120, we got Van Morrison's Moon Dance. I hate Van Morrison. The Brown-Eyed Girl. I'll show you my brown eye if you play that song one more time. I'm so sick of that song. I don't like. I mean, doesn't he do like folky kind of hippie music? Isn't he right up there with Joni Mitchell in the hippie department? I don't know. I don't care. Van Morrison, everybody. Elvis Costello, this year's model. Man, I'll tell you what. Like, Elvis Costello is one of those guys that, like, all the hipsters automatically like. I don't see what the big deal is. I don't understand why he garnered the critical acclaim that he did. Rolling Stone is the Quentin Reviews of music sites. That's funny. If you don't know who Quentin Reviews is, he's this YouTuber. And since I'm tired of like burning bridges with everyone, I'm just not going to comment on what I think about his channel. All right, Corey, I will check out Gloria by Van Morrison and see if you that can change my mind. Anyway, I think Elvis Costello is all right. Honestly, I just get kind of annoyed when like fan base, like I feel like Elvis Costello has an annoying fan base. I think that's what it is. I got nothing against the guy personally. I mean, obviously, I've never met him, so I have nothing against any of these people personally, unless one of my friends make this list, which will probably never happen. But yeah, anyway, good for him. Pump It Up. I heard that song. It's pretty cool. A lot of the punk rockers like Elvis Costello. Moving on. Oh, yes. Number 122. One of my favorite albums of all time finally makes the list. Nine Inch Nails' The Downward Spiral. This my friends, is Trent Reznor at his best. This is the best thing he's ever done, and he will not ever be able to top it. I did a whole video on titled "Has Trent Reznor Forgotten How to Write a Hook?" And it got so much hate, and I felt like I was burning a bridge by, me being in a band and talking trash about Trent, because I feel like Trent's, like, the last 10 or 15 years of Trent's releases haven't been all that good. I'll say last 10 years. And, I referenced the Downward Spiral as being, like, his masterpiece, and it's just so cohesive, and it was just, I don't know, I thought it was really good. And then Josh never listens to Glory by Van Morrison. How do you know me, Profanity Warren? You've never met me, but how do you know that that's how I am? God damn it. No, I'm going to try to. Corey, fucking send me a message or something. Remind me. No, but Downward Spiral is my favorite Nine Inch Nails record, and it is definitely in my top 20 favorite albums all time. It's a depressing album. You literally feel like you've gone down a downward spiral when you finish this record. You feel emotionally drained listening to it, and that's good. That's what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you feel something. You're not supposed to listen to a song and go, I could take it or leave it. It's supposed to make you feel something. All right, moving on. In at number 123, we have already established the fact that Rolling Stone hates rock music. So they are trying to rewrite history here. They're doing revisionist history. I mean, I can literally say they're doing revisionist history because they already did a top 500 albums in 2003, and all the most of the Led Zeppelin albums were in the top 20, and now they are pushed down to the 100s because, again, Rolling Stone is pandering to their millennial and Zoomer audience, and boomer music out into the pasture to die. So fuck Rolling Stone. Give them a big middle finger for me. U2 in at number 24, Achtung Baby. The only I like a handful of U2 songs. I think they have that song Numb on this album, which is cool, although that might have been on Zooropa. They're in this blurb, they're touting how the song One may be their most gorgeous song, but it's a dark ballad about a relationship in peril and struggle to keep it together. I've heard One being referred to as one of the best songs ever written. I don't see where people get that from. I don't think it's that great of a song. I think I've listened to this album. I didn't care for it. I did love how U2 tried to change their direction in the 90s and go more electronic and be more like almost borderline gothy, but it just came off as very contrived. Like, I bought their Zoo TV tour DVD thinking that it was going to be this, darker, gothier experience, because, they had those huge TV setups that were kind of unseen at the time and unprecedented at the time. But the show was just, I don't know, man. U2 to me is like a group that I almost liked. I almost liked them, but yeah, Bono does ruin it. He comes across as so pompous and so insincere, which is kind of shitty because he's actually done a lot of good. He's fought for a lot of good causes, and he's like, as far as like poverty and hunger and like third world countries, he's really like helped out in that way. So, like, he's not an asshole, but he just comes across as one. It's like, well, you can't put your finger on it. And number 125, Paul's Boutique. This is a CD that I bought when my friend in high school was trying to, get me into the Beastie Boys and be like, hey, man, they have some really good stuff in their early albums. Yeah, Bono on South Park was hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, South Park reference. The Beastie Boys Paul's Boutique record, they did a lot of innovative stuff on the album. For me personally, it sounds dated. The sounds just in general, a lot of drum machine, like cheap. It's a very plasticky, cheap sounding album. It doesn't really. I feel like it's an album that could definitely benefit from just a remaster. with new technology, not changing anything, but just remastering it to where it kind of, you know, the bass frequencies hit a little better, and it's a very thin sounding album. The Beastie Boys voices were at their highest as far as pitch were, you know, aside from MCA, who's always had more of the gravelly voice, but you know, so they're kind of like mosquitoes in your ear at that point, which never really changed much in their career. But I don't know. The critics and the hipsters love to reference Paul's Boutique as this like masterpiece. I'm more of a fan, honestly, of, I think Hello Nasty and even To the Five Boroughs were two great albums that were better than this album, in my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Mary J. Blige, My Life. You know, I don't know much about Mary J. Blige. She has like one song that I really like called Fine, or I'm Fine, or whatever. She's in the R&B kind of world. I'm not in that world. That's not the kind of music I like, but I know that she has been, and I don't really have anything bad to say about her, you know, whatever. Good for her. Ray Charles, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music. I feel like this is another compilation. Yeah. Which, again, y'all guys have mentioned in the chat, and I agree, is it's cheap to have compilations in these lists, because, I mean, in that case, you could take all... For instance, like, take a band like... I don't know. Take a band like Journey. And you took all their best songs, or Queen, take all their best songs and put on one album, yeah, that album would be a lot higher on the list, because you're literally synthesizing all the best that they've ever put out and putting it on one album. But I think with these older guys, it's they just put out so much stuff. They put out, like, Elvis put out so many records. Ray Charles put out so many records that just were not relevant anymore. Like, as far as like their songs that weren't hits. So it almost makes sense to put these older artists on compilations and have those be the feature rather than an individual album. Anyway, Ray Charles is a legend, by the way. Mad respect. Oh, 128, Queen of Night at the Opera. What a goddamn shame how low this is on this list. Again, for being such a woke-ass magazine, and Queen having that just magnanimously successful biopic last year, I'm surprised that Queen is this low on the list. This is one of my favorite Queen albums, if not my favorite. The studio, I don't know why I just said it like that. No, Alice in Chains has not been mentioned yet. The studio stuff that they did on this album was just incredible. The harmonies that they just stack on top of each other. I mean, I can tell you for a fact that Def Leppard definitely stole that right out of the Queen playbook 10 years later with a lot of the harmony stuff that they did, where they just stacked 50 fucking harmonies on top of each other. So you just had these super powerful sonic onslaught of harmonies coming at you. Everyone in the band sang, except I think the bass player, John Deacon, I want to say is his name. The drummer, Roger Taylor, had a higher range than Freddie Mercury. His on the song in the year of, was it 45? I don't remember. Whatever the song that Brian May did the lead vocals on, in the bridge, Roger Taylor does this soaring falsetto thing that is just like, how the fuck can anyone's falsetto go that high for a male? Great album, great studio techniques. This was the album that had Bohemian Rhapsody on it, which became one of the biggest anthems of all time. Being a karaoke DJ, as some of you may or may not know about me, the Bohemian Rhapsody has been ruined for me personally. I hate to say. I would be okay if I never ever heard that song again, because I've heard so many bad singers try to sing it. How are we doing on the... Is my mic still being picked up? Yes, it is. Good. Pink Floyd, The Wall, another one of the albums that would make my top 20 favorite albums all time. In at number 129. What kind of bullshit is that? Wall, I mean, if you know anything about Pink Floyd or The Wall or me or the bands that I like, you'll know that Pink Floyd's one of my favorite bands. And The Wall is one of my favorite albums and one of my favorite movies, honestly. It's a great movie. Bob Geldof as Pink, thought he did a great job in the movie. The songs on this album are just fantastic. The song In the Flesh, which is what the album opens up with that bendy guitar riff, is just so haunting. And then at the end of the song, when the plane, the World War II era plane, is doing the dive bomb because they're either about to crash or they're about to bomb something, it just gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, because there's this big crescendo at the end of the song and you just hear the plane dive bombing, which is like such a badass sound. And then it, I can go, I could do a whole fucking video on The Wall. Let me not linger on that, or this is going to be another fucking 2-hour video. In at number 130, we have Prince's 1999. I believe this came out before Purple Rain. I don't know anything about it aside from the songs that came off of it. Obviously, the song 1999, Little Red Corvette. Little Red Corvette! Wow, that looks like a dick. I'm sure that is not an accident. Look at that. Yes, that is absolutely supposed to look like a penis. Wow. Real mature Prince. This art looks like a child drew it. I don't know if that was the point, but whatever. I guess it's funky. Yeah, I mean, Prince is one of those guys. He's talented. He paid his dues. I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. Let me read the comments here. If Deftones isn't on here, I'm burning my house down. What the heck do they have against Pink Floyd? I don't know. I don't know what they have against Pink Floyd. I really don't. I really think that Roger Waters came into their offices and took a big, smelly vegan dump on one of their desks and smeared it on their papers or something. Anyway, let's keep moving forward here. Oh, wow. What a unique and awesome pick. Portishead's Dummy from 1994. This is such a good fucking album. I gotta pull up the track list here. I listen to this album quite often. Trip hop is one of my it's a genre that I don't mention a lot, but man, I love trip hop so much. Sour Times, such a cool, creepy song. It Could Be Sweet, Wandering Star, Glory Box. This whole album, the vibe. Trip hop is one of the most underrated fucking music genres. I don't know why this genre went so underappreciated. I mean, you have bands like Massive Attack and some of the stuff Moby did. Tricky, although I don't really like Tricky as much. Thievery Corporation, some of the Bjork's music would be considered trip hop. Some of the music I've done in Dancing with Ghosts is considered trip hop. I would consider the song Circles trip hop. So Portishead, very fucking underrated group. I miss that late 90s, early 2000s trip hop scene. I literally wish I could go back in time and live in the UK at the time when trip hop was really starting to get big, and they would play this music at clubs and raves and shit. I would love to do that. Anyway, sorry, I need to make a video about trip hop. I might make a note of that like right now. And now the exact opposite of Portishead, we have 132, Hank Williams 40. Again, the compilation thing's kind of bullshit, because if you can take everyone's greatest songs and put on one thing, how is that fair? But, Hank Williams is country music, essentially. You think country music, you think Hank Williams or Merle Haggard or Johnny Cash. So, and I'm not a big fan of country. Even when people go, oh, yeah, but you got to love the old stuff. No, I don't. I don't really care for any of it. Johnny Cash is probably the closest one that I like. And I think that's how it is for most people who don't like country. Yeah, Hank Williams' untimely death at, age 32 or something? Oh, no, age 29. Yeah, he died. He had, Hank Williams the second and then the third. I think the third's in, a death metal band or something. Yeah, anyway. Joni Mitchell, Hedjira, 1976. Again, not a Joni Mitchell fan. I've got literally nothing to say about her. If she's got some cool 80s dark wave Depeche Mode sounding album, let me know. I'll give it a listen. She did this song with Peter Gabriel, or Peter Gabriel did a song with her, I should say, called Secret Place, which was a pretty good song. Peter Gabriel did goddamn guest vocals on. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to make a note right now to do a trip hop video, because I often myself forget that trip hop exists, and I just need to not forget that. I need to make trip hop video. All right, sorry about that. In at number 134, we have the Fugees, The Score. Now, I am surprised in 2020 with how woke and social justice warrior Rolling Stone has got. I'm surprised this album is this low. I mean, this is where I would personally put the album, you know. But I think that, I don't know, Lauryn Hill had like the most popular song off here, Killing Me Softly, and it's a cover. I mean, it's not like, but you know, she did it. Her version is like, you know, you do a cover right when your version becomes the definitive version and the original version is just kind of scoffed at. Like, oh, who gives a fuck about, you know, the original? Have you heard Lauryn Hill's version? I'll give it up, man. Lauryn Hill, you know, that was a great song. She did a much better job than the original. I got a question. What do I think of Tears for Fears? I think Tears for Fears have some good songs. They're a little, some of their stuff is a little meh to me. It's a little, you know, not really that great, but then other songs they have are really good. Like they have an underrated song called Memories Fade. That's really good. Kanye West actually, he didn't sample it, but he kind of ripped off the melody and even some of the lyrics. And I'm sure he paid the guys in Tears for Fears. That's a band just kind of like dissolved, and then you never really heard anything about them again. Like when they were still really popular. It's kind of weird because like they have maintained their popularity longer than most of their contemporaries from that time in the 80s. All right, 135, we have U2, The Joshua Tree. I'm really surprised that Achtung Baby is more relevant in Rolling Stone's opinion than The Joshua Tree, because to me, Joshua Tree is the quintessential U2 album. Apparently, it's based on America, and not in a snooty, like, fuck you, America kind of way, but more in a, you know, the wide open West and the rolling countrysides of America and the American spirit and all that. Yeah, cool, good enough, whatever. I will say the song, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I mean, who can't relate to that feeling, you know? I just think that was a great, just classic song lyrically. And With or Without You, they felt like really timeless songs, and they are. You can play them to this day and they're still great songs, you know, but, you know, whatever. Moving on, 136, we have Funkadelic's Maggot Brain. I hear a lot of people cite this album as an album that inspired them. I'd be interested in giving it a listen. Apparently, it's a heavy album, more like rock infused or something. I don't know, man. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I love the name of the album, though, Maggot Brain. Like, I love it when bands just do random, album titles like that. And then it's just got the lady buried, and, like, you just see her. Like, that's just an interesting... The name and the cover of this album alone makes me want to, like, see what this is about. And I think that's what an effective album cover does. Up next, oh, Jesus. Adele, 21. You know, I mean... Sure, Adele isn't as vapid as the pop stars of my adolescence, like the Britney Spears and the Christina Aguileras. She was definitely more adult here, but and she's got a soulful voice. But I mean, Jesus Christ, man, when she first started becoming popular, everyone made such a big fucking deal about Adele, and yes, her songs were fine and all, but like I never saw what the big deal was about Adele. Like A farmer in the dell, a farmer in the dell. Hi. Sorry, I just had to do that for some reason. I felt compelled. So yeah, I mean, I don't, fine. I guess 137. Sure. I mean, it's newer, but there are newer albums much higher up on this list. I guess I'm just personally commenting on Adele. Madonna, The Immaculate Collection. This is another compilation, which I don't understand. Madonna is not old. Why is this? Why is that so? Let me look at the people, and let me look the American people in the eyes for a second. Why is it? Madonna came out in the 80s. Why does she need a compilation? Like, how does that even qualify? That's so stupid. On top of that, Madonna has so many albums that could have been considered like classic pop albums. This might be a little surprising to you guys, but I fucking love Madonna. Like, I think she has some really great songs. Even her poppy, corny shit, I like. I've been vibing on Who's That Girl a lot lately. La Isla Bonita. Rain. Frozen is one of her, like, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. That's from her 1998 album, Ray of Light. She just writes really good, her and her writers or whatever, because I'm sure she doesn't write all of it, but Madonna's really good. They put the Immaculate Collection on here, but they could have put any one of her albums on here. That's weird that they did a compilation for such a new artist. This list just has no fucking rhyme or reason. Black Sabbath, Paranoid, a lot of people's favorite Black Sabbath record, infamous for its god awful album cover. What kind of drugs were they on at the time is what I want to know. It's not if they were on drugs, it's what kind of drugs were they on? First of all, what is this guy? Is he a guard? He looks like a race car driver, guard something or other. Let's try to get past the goddamn awful album cover. This is kind of when the band came into their fully realized form. You got, Iron Man. You got Paranoid. You got War Pigs. Like, this is the trifecta of rockness. So yeah, I mean, this, what can you say? Fantastic. They had dump trucks of Coke. I'm sorry guys, I gotta go grab a refreshing Sprite Zero. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Fucking delicious. I hope you enjoy my slurp sounds. 140, Bob Marley, Catch a Fire. We've already seen a Bob Marley album in the top 100. I got nothing to say about Bob Marley. I think that he is probably the biggest export to come out of Jamaica, aside from drugs. He did a lot for the Jamaican people and the Jamaican name. I mean, honestly, I feel like the country has a lot more cachet because of Bob Marley. And some of his music's okay. It's just really fucking repetitive, but that's most reggae for you. Literally, his songs can be so goddamn repetitive. He'll get like a good riff going, and it's like, all right, that's cool. And he just rides that shit out for the longest time. And it's like, all right, I get it. Do something different. Another interesting thing about Bob Marley that I did not know. His father was a white guy. He's actually mixed. He's not, I thought he was just 100% Jamaican. But nope. I think his dad was a British white guy. I know he was a white guy, but I think he was British too. Number 141, Pixies, Doolittle. You know, for someone like me who likes alternative rock as much as I do, you would think that I would love the Pixies. And what's the other band that everyone always, that I get the Pixies and this other band mixed up all the time. Sonic Youth and the Pixies. But I actually don't really care for the Pixies all that much. I should probably listen to it again, though, I guess, this album. I mean, it did have, like, really big songs that came off here, and it kind of changed the ethos of the rock landscape at the time, the alt rock landscape. So they're really important for that reason alone. I do need to give them and Sonic Youth more of a listen, because they were kind of the progenitors of a lot of the stuff that I like now. So yes, Kurt Cobain loved the Pixies. He also loved REM, which is cool because REM is one of my favorite bands. In at number 142, Bruce Springsteen's Ass. Fantastic. So yeah, this is Born in the USA. I don't know what's up with him and being born to run, born in the USA, born to be mediocre in Josh's mind. I think he started incorporating synths into this album because that was the thing in the 80s. And yeah, I don't know. I know Born in the USA, and I don't care about Bruce Springsteen. The Velvet Underground. This is apparently their third album. It doesn't have any songs about S&M or drug deals, and there's no wailing feedback, but Quieter Beauty was just as revelatory. Lou Reed sang poignant folk rock that describes loss, pale blue eyes, or spiritual thirst, Jesus. And because the Velvets liked it when people danced at their shows, there are two great up-tempo numbers, Beginning to See the Light and What Goes On, where Reed and Sterling Morrison entwine their guitar licks and sustain a joyful minimalist groove that creates a blueprint for generations of bands, including everyone from Modern Lovers to the Feelies to Parquet Courts. Good the fuck for them. I don't know why. In at number 144, we got Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. This song has got Kashmir on it, which I think is probably my favorite Led Zeppelin song because it doesn't sound that much like Led Zeppelin. I'm not gonna lie, I don't care too much for Robert Plant's "Ooh yeah, ooh yeah, baby," all that shit that he does. I don't like it. I don't think it sounds cool. I think it sounds lame as fuck. But to each their own. Whatever. All right, so let's keep this train a rolling. 145, Marshall Mathers LP. I grew up listening to this album. I quite enjoy this album to this day. I like Eminem a lot, except for the last 9 albums he's done. Just kidding. No, I like his first 3 his first 2 albums were classics, and then he's got some other stuff after that that's okay, but this is one of his classic albums. Let me get on the webcam here real quick. Eminem was so controversial at this point when he first came out. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, and I went to a private Christian school, and our headmaster became so obsessed with Eminem that he would do we called it chapel services or whatever, where he would just rail against how awful Eminem was and how his music was evil and how we shouldn't listen to him, which I don't know when will adults learn that telling kids to not do something just makes them want to do it more. But that's all I wanted to do is go check out what the fuss was about. And at the time, Eminem had the raw emotion and skill to back up what he was doing. When you heard The Way I Am, I mean, that shit, I'd never heard a rapper yell his rap like that. And it was so desperate and he really was on the ledge of a building about to jump off. And you felt the anger. It came across so authentically. And I think that's when what Eminem lost for a while there was authenticity, where he just didn't come across as authentic anymore. The Marshall Mathers LP was so hardcore that even on the uncensored version of the album, they still censored several things that he said. That's how fucking hardcore he was. They still censored shit on his uncensored album There was one of the lines was take 3 kids from Columbine, set them all up in a line, add an AK-47 and a 9 or something like that, and they blipped out that entire thing because that was right after the Columbine school shooting. And then there was some other shit that he said where I think he mentioned people by name that legally he couldn't say. And I think some of the graphic detail of his raps, like certain points, they just literally would just censor it. But that's what made it all the more cooler, because it's like, man, this guy's edgy. Like, great album, and I still listen to it to this day. All right, these guys are growing up, man. Oh yeah, Miles Cruz. I don't know. Eminem has managed to stay relevant. Like the last few albums he released, like Revival was pretty much critically panned, but I mean, it was critically panned by the critics. The average music audience still fucked with it and still liked it. That song Walk on Water that featured Ed Sheeran still got billions upon billions of streams, and he's made comebacks ever since that album. So the kids, I think, still fuck with Eminem, but they won't understand how big of a phenomenon he was as he was in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like he was really, he was huge. Moving on, number 146, Blondie, Parallel Lines. Is this the goddamn album with her rap on it? Because that is like one of the worst raps I've ever heard in my entire life. I know it's got Heart of Glass on it. Don't make my heart out of glass. But what's her rap song that she did? God, because I'm going to look up the lyrics to it right now so I can prove to you how fucking awful it was. God, what was the name of that stupid song? Blondie song where she raps. Rapture. Okay, cool. Let me read you these lyrics. This is some of the worst like white girl rapping that's ever existed. Yeah, Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's high, DJ spinning are saving my mind, Flash is fast, Flash is cool, Francois say fa, Flash ne do, and you don't stop, sure shot, go out to the parking lot, and you get in your car and you drive real far, and you drive all night, and then you see a light, and it comes right down and lands on the ground, and out comes a man from Mars, and you try to run, but he's got a gun, and he shoots you dead, and he eats your head. And I was like, how fucking cringy and just like primitive are those? Like that's a rap I would have wrote when I was like 10. Right. Blondie is another one of those bands that nobody really cares about, just about the albums, just the hits. That's dead on. I mean, that she's definitely fits in that category 100%. All right, moving on to 147, Jeff Buckley. Now, this is a guy that I've heard so much about my whole life and have been told how great he is, and I've never really listened to the dude's music. He's one of those guys who was kind of in the alt-rock scene, even though that's not really what his music sounded like, that I just somehow managed to sleep on. And the way the dude died is insane. Like, he literally was like, I think he was in like Manhattan or something, and he saw this, it was the Memphis River, I think is what it's called according to this article. He randomly decides he's going to jump in there for a swim. His friend is on the shore going, hey man, come on, like we got to go. Something catches his friend's attention for like 5 minutes. He comes back. Jeff Buckley's gone. He just is discovered a few days later with his body like snagged on one of the branches in the river. The dude just drowned. He jumps in a river and he drowns. And like he had all this. He was basically set up to become this really big star, and then he like died after only making like one official album. If you've heard that song Hallelujah, it's probably his version, and that's like kind of his biggest song. But yeah, I don't think his music's my cup of tea, but you know, more power to you if you like him. 148, Frank Ocean, Channel Orange. I've never listened to a single Frank Ocean song in my life. This is one of these newer cats that's out on the scene that the kids seem to like, although I haven't really heard any mention of Frank Ocean in the last, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years. So I don't really know, if he's still relevant, if he was a flash in the pan. I know 2 of his fucking albums made this list. So apparently he was amazing when he did put shit out. 149, John Prine, self-titled. I have no idea who John Prine is. I've never heard of this guy in my life. He did folk country rock, and yeah, no idea about who this guy is, so I'm gonna keep moving on. In at number 150, Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska. I was told if I don't like Bruce Springsteen, I should listen to this album. Apparently, this is a bare, very stripped down album that he recorded on a 4-track in his bedroom. I don't see me liking this, but I love the album cover. I will say that. And I love the title. It's very ominous. Nebraska. What could that be about? No, it's a great album cover, though. Love it. I like the almost looks like the old novels. It'd be like, Tom Clancy, Splinter Cell, or whatever. It's kind of got that. It looks like the cover of a book. It's got that like grainy black and white image. So yeah, I should check that one out, I guess. Moving on. Oh, we got to go to the next page here. We're going from 200 to 151 to 200. Scroll past all these. Oh, look at all the work I got to do. It's so hard being me. Wah. In at number 151, George Michael, Faith. Yeah, I mean, George Michael was a really big 80s pop star. Also a gay man at a time when it wasn't necessarily like super cool or accepted to be gay. So it's kind of like he was, kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say innovative because there was people who came out way before him like Elton John, but, whatever. But yeah, I mean, he had some big hits, I guess. Father Figure, I Want Your Sex. I don't like that kind of music. It's that poppy kind of trying to be provocative, but, it's not really that, artistically deep. It's just more surface level. But he was a big artist back in the day. It sucks that he died. Died kind of young. The Pretenders, self-titled. I don't know much about this band. I know that they are kind of one of those bands that are revered by people who like Elvis Costello and like the hipster crowd. They're kind of popular with them. Don't know much about them, so there you go. Let me read the comments here. It's a good album. A lot of music he made for the album was never released. John Prine wrote songs for artists more popular than he was, so hence now everyone loves him and hates the artist he wrote before he died of COVID. Oh God, that's crazy. Another woke album. How is it a woke album? I don't know what album you were talking about, Media Guy. That's a woke album. There's kind of a delay, as I'm sure you guys have figured out on here, from when I say something until you like actually hear it. PJ Harvey, Rid of Me. Damn, she's looking cute in that on that album cover. Yeah, she's cute. Anyway, PJ Harvey kind of was in that alt rock world. I like what I've heard from her so far. I have not heard this album. I should probably give it a listen. She says in the blurb here, I very much want to write songs that shocked. Polly Jean Harvey said, wow, her full name is Polly Jean Harvey. Yeah, I would have abbreviated it too if I were her. Years later, after her second album, the shock came partly from her lyrics, which were often proclamations of sexual compulsion. I wish she had sexual compulsion around me. And also from the intense dynamic shifts in her music, which careened from blues to goth, often in the space of one song. Harvey was under the influence of Howlin' Wolf, Tom Waits, and Flannery O'Connor, and her singing, writing, and lead guitar playing coalesce into something marked by flames. The lyrics have lots of licking, moaning, bleed. Okay, that's disgusting. I don't need to. Goddamn Rolling Stone. They think they're so goddamn prolific in their writing. Aretha Franklin, Amazing Grace. I have nothing to say about this. I don't care. Jay-Z, The Black Album. You know, whatever. I never really. The only Jay-Z song I like is 99 Problems, which this song comes off of, which is great. I can rap that song just like the back of my ass. Jay-Z's got some of the biggest lips of any human being I've ever seen. Like, good goddamn. You could get lip injections and not even come close to how big his fucking lips are. Like, that's one thing I've always noticed about Jay-Z is his humongous ass lips. Anyway, as someone who also has big lips, I can understand his struggle. In at number 156, we have The Replacements, Let It Be. You know, I've heard Alex Chilton by The Replacements, and I liked that song. I don't know anything a whole lot. I don't know anything else about the band, really. Copying a Beatles title was cheeky. Attaching it to a post-punk masterpiece was a sign of maturity, said Paul Westberg. This was the first time I had songs that were rearranged rather than just banging out riffs. Mixing punk, pop, and country with wry lyrics. His songs describe heroes, the gender-bending couple in Androgynous, and villains, an unsanitary dentist, and Tommy gets his tonsils out. Anyway, whatever. Let me read the comments here. Blah, 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 blah. PJ Harvey was a soundtrack staple in the 90s. She was always on soundtracks. Yeah, she was, dude. She was on Batman and The Crow. What was up with that? Why was she on so many goddamn soundtracks? That's like one of the only things I know her for was being on soundtracks. PJ Harvey should have three or four albums in the top 100 easily, but she's too cool. And that's the worst write-up for a PJ Harvey album I could possibly imagine. Well done, Rolling Stone. The Replacements, Let It Be is excellent. Great work. I'll send you a link for The Replacements. Yeah, so I want to check out more PJ Harvey stuff, and I guess I'll check out The Replacements too. Oasis, what's the story, Morning Glory? Let me take a fucking big hit off my vape before I go on about this. I don't think we here in America, if you guys, well, Corey's Canadian. If you're from this side of the pond, whether it be Canada, yes, I said Canada, whether it be Canada or America, we'll never understand just how big Oasis was in the UK. They were fucking huge. They very much carried the torch of being the next Beatles. As far as like English bands, and this was the album that did that. Now, I agree that this album is a little low on the list, but I don't think it should be much higher for the simple fact that, you know, really the only in America, the only Oasis songs that has the time have been Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova, and no one really talks about anything else. Nobody talks about their first album. Nobody talks about their album that came after this one, which was a huge flop. Well, it wasn't a flop at the time, but in retrospect, Oasis shot to fame so quick with this album. Remember how I was saying earlier that if a band puts out a really great album, critics will look at their previous material and their future material in the moment, and they'll say that it's great even if it's not so great. And that's what happened with Oasis. When they released their next album after What's the Story, Morning Glory, critics instantly thought that it was great and they gave it great reviews. But as time went on and critics revisited the album, they were like, actually, this is a bloated pile of shit. So it's kind of funny how time really is a factor on classic albums, and that's why any of these albums like Adele and all that, it's just kind of like, guys, you're jumping the gun a little bit by putting anything from 2010 and above on this list. You have to give it time. But I'm sure they'll do another top 500 in in the next 20 years, and there'll be no rock act on there. Pink Floyd will be number 500. Erykah Badu, 158, Mama's Gun. I got no problem with Erykah Badu. She's, deeper and more thoughtful than a lot of people in her genre. So, whatever. Good for her. Ah, man, the Synchronicity is all the way at number 159. You gotta be fucking kidding me, man. This is a fucking masterpiece of an album. I love this this is in my top 20. This is a fucking great album. Great songs on here. I used to think that I'd hate the Police just based off of their singles, but the Police is one of those bands where some of their best songs are not played on the radio. I love bands like that. Those are some of my favorite bands where their best songs are not. I might do like a top 10. I'm going to write this down. Top 10 bands whose best songs aren't on radio. Yeah, Police is definitely one of those bands. I recommend checking out Synchronicity, part 1 and 2, even though part 2 was on the radio. That you don't hear it very much anymore. Invisible Sun, which wasn't on this album, but that's an underrated Police song for sure. I might do a Police ranking video one of these days, which wouldn't be a very long video because they only put out like 5 albums. In at number 160 is Pearl Jam's 10. The disparity in the grunge genre on this list between Nirvana being like number 3, I think, and Pearl Jam being at all the way, and this was their classic album. This was Pearl Jam's classic album that sold, probably as well as Nirvana's Nevermind. And they're all the way at number 160. They just did not change the musical landscape as much as Nirvana, according to Rolling Stone. I think these bands collectively kind of helped change the landscape. Nirvana definitely was the bigger one, but I mean, putting this all the way at 160 and Nirvana at like number 3, they should have been higher up on the list. But I don't know. I wish in these little blurbs, Rolling Stone would put their like just a 1-sentence reason for why the album is in the position that it's at. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Sting really had a really good thing going. It's a pity they broke after the album. Sting, I actually really love Sting's solo career as well. I think I like Sting's solo stuff. Sting has more songs that I like as a solo artist than he did with the Police, because I like a lot of the Police songs, but I think I like more Sting solo songs. He's just one of those artists that just had so much. He had the juice, man. He just came up with all the great melodies and wrote great songs. All right, in at number 161 we have Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Self-Titled. This is one of my dad's favorite groups. Their harmonies were great. David Crosby is a little bit too much of a liberal hippie for me, but whatever. I mean, I'm sure they're all uber liberal hippies, but whatever. Yeah, they're a great band, especially when they had Neil Young in there. It's not quite my music, but I appreciate their vocals. The stuff that Crosby and Nash did with David Gilmour on his on his solo album On an Island in 2005 or whenever that album came out. David Gilmour harmonizing with David Crosby, and it was either Graham Nash or Steven Stills, I can't remember, but David Crosby was definitely one of the guys. To have those 3 guys harmonizing together, it just sounded so good. Yes, Poncho 828, are you like stalking me? Because Do the Evolution is my favorite Pearl Jam song too, and I feel like that is way too random of a choice for you to not have watched one of my other videos. Or maybe you just have really good taste. Do the Evolution by Pearl Jam is a really good song. And the music video, if you haven't seen the music video, I highly suggest you go and watch it. It's fantastic. It's animated, really great music video. One of my favorite music videos of all time, honestly. And the reason why Do the Evolution is my favorite Pearl Jam song is because it sounds so little like Pearl Jam. I'm not the biggest Eddie Vedder fan. I'm sorry. 162, Pulp, Different Class, 1995. Pulp, I've barely heard of them. Who what's the story with this? Let me see. Pulp blew up in the Brit pop scene in the 1990s. Oh, they're Brit pop. Never mind. Yet Jarvis Cocker outclassed all his rivals as a master storyteller and wit. This man was a born rock star in the Bowie mode, striking a pose in his thrift shop razzmatazz. I hate that word. But with his own sly sense of compassion. On Different Class, he croons with his breathy tales of working class lust, envy, and dread over the swishy trash disco groove of Come On People and Disco 2000. I barely heard of this band. I'll have to check them out. Pulp, huh. I have a thing for 90s bands, so you'll have to forgive me. In at number 163, various artists, Saturday Night Fever. Okay. I mean, I know it's a big movie. I mean, I guess you have Staying Alive on there. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess I obviously was born 10 years after this movie even came out, so I can't appreciate I'm sure the effect that this album had on the pop culture zeitgeist, if you will. Yes, media guy Eddie Vedder is the last surviving grunge guy besides Dave Grohl. But Dave Grohl, I almost don't count him because he only played drums he didn't front one of the big four. To me, the big four grunge bands is Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam. And yeah, I mean, Eddie's the last guy. So, I mean, you got to give him some respect for that. All right, moving on. We got 164, Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. I mean, this is a classic album. His career was kind of, from my understanding, his career was kind of on the wane, and this was like more of a publicity stunt than anything else. But it did wonders. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Been drinking too much Sprite Zero there. This helped his career out a lot, and he, played at Folsom Prison. How badass is that? Yes, Corey, you're correct. Jerry Cantrell is still alive, and he is half the voice of Alice in Chains. My apologies. He gets downplayed way too much, and I was just guilty of that. So I am going to flog myself. Oh, yes! 165, REM Murmur. I fucking love this album. This was REM's first official LP. I'll read the blurb here. We wanted to have this kind of timeless record, guitarist Peter Buck said of REM's debut LP, and this, quote, technically limited, end quote, band, according to producer Don Dixon, did just that. Buck was a rock scholar who had worked in a record store. Singer Michael Stipe unspooled his lyrics as if they constituted some new secret language. That is such a accurate statement to describe Michael Stipe's lyrics. He really does write his lyrics like it's a secret language. You never know what the fuck he's talking about. And that's what I love about REM. His lyrics are just so well written, but you have no idea what they're about. But you feel they must be about something, but you just don't know what. The lyrics and melodies seemed buried, almost subliminal, and even the songs with something approximating hooks, such as Radio Free Europe, resist clarity. Murmur was a founding document of alternate rock, released just as Gen X was heading off to college. I love that album. I love that band. Great album, great choice. Wish it was higher up. 166, Buddy Holly, 20 Golden Greats. I don't care about Buddy Holly. Not my generation by a long shot. My grandma could probably tell you a lot more about Buddy Holly than I could. All right, moving on. Oh, yes, fucking A, my band. 167, Depeche Mode, Violator. One of England's first synth pop bands, Depeche Mode, had moved beyond their bubblegum phase by the time their 7th album, and under the influence of hip-hop began playing with samples and loops, even betraying their keyboard roots with the twangy guitar that opens Personal Jesus. Alan Wilder created the dense, constantly shifting arrangements. Martin Gore wrote the pervy lyrics. And Dave Gahan croons implacably about betrayal, immorality, and sexual domination. The percolating Enjoy the Silence became their only U.S. top 10 single, and Policy of Truth did almost as well. With its panoply of high-gloss hooks and arresting artificial sounds, Violator cemented Depeche Mode's status as the first electronic band that could fill stadiums. That is true, and they are one of my favorite bands of all time. This is nowhere near my favorite Depeche Mode album, just because the songs on here are just so overplayed. Enjoy the Silence is very overplayed. My band, Dancing with Ghosts, covered this song, and that also helped in making me get tired of hearing it, but I fucking love Depeche Mode so much, so, yeah. The cowboy hat era of Depeche Mode. Dude, all of Depeche Mode's music videos are fucking awful, except for Wrong and Stripped. And I beseech you to find me a Depeche Mode music video that doesn't suck besides the two I just named. For a band that's so artsy and full of sonic imagery, what's up, El Toro Lucky Patient Zero? You've been on my channel for a while. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Yeah, but for a band that's so good like Depeche Mode, I'm surprised their videos have gotten such bad treatment. It's like, how hard would it be to make a video for Depeche Mode? There's so much imagery in their music. Anyway, in at number 168, Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. Again, don't give a shit about Steely Dan. It's one of those bands I was forced to listen to growing up that I didn't like. I just am not to the point in my life yet where I care about jazz. So there you go. Moving on to number 169, Billy Joel's The Stranger. You know, I don't hate Billy Joel. I think he's got some good songs. The Stranger itself is a great song. You don't hear it brought up very much. You don't hear it played on mainstream radio like his other songs. Yeah, he's fine. He's kind of got that whole annoying thing that Springsteen has, though, where like he's got this whole New Jersey attitude, and it's almost like you don't fully get Billy Joel unless you're from New Jersey. But whatever. In at number 170, we have Cream with Disraeli Gears. This is a very influential album for a lot of artists that came after Cream. You have Sunshine of Your Love, which is a big hit. I don't have a lot to say about this band, quite frankly. Eric Clapton came from this band, so that's cool. You have Ginger Baker, which was a kind of a legendary drummer. It's kind of all I have to say about Cream. Yeah, Billy Joel, the American Elton John. Yep, pretty much. They toured together all the time, too. Elton John, in his autobiography, actually mentioned how Billy Joel was kind of an asshole and hard to work with, which I thought was kind of surprising. Because, you know, Elton John seems like he's kind of a diva himself, but he claimed that Billy Joel was really a diva on the road, and that's kind of why they stopped touring together. All right, in at 171, I had mentioned this band before as a band that people would think that I would be into that I just was never able to get into, Sonic Youth. I've actually listened to Daydream Nation a few times, and I don't know, man. I haven't been able to get into Sonic Youth. I know this is a big album, especially for alternative rock fans, so you would think that I'd be into it, but you know, just because I tend to like alternative rock and it's my favorite genre, that doesn't mean I'm going to like everything that's in that genre. So yeah, I'm not the biggest Sonic Youth fan, but I think they're okay. You know, they got some songs that are good. Teenage Riot's good. Their songs are escaping me now. 172, Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water. What is up with this album cover? Why does it look like Art Garfunkel is about to sexually molest poor little Paul Simon with his little fucking Amish looking ass hair, his Fred Phelps Westboro Baptist Church hair? This is a fucking creepy album cover, dude. Why would they agree to that? Like, in what? I don't care if it came out in the 70s. When was that ever? Anyway, let me get over the fucking album cover. So, on their fifth and final studio album, Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel were pulling away from each other. Simon assembled some of it while Garfunkel was in Mexico starting his acting career with a part in a film version of Catch-22. I didn't know Garfunkel was an actor. Garfunkel vetoed Simon's song Cuba C. Nixon No, and Simon nixed Garfunkel's idea for a Bach chorale, What remains is the partnership at its best, wry, wounded songs with healing harmonies such as The Boxer. Though the gorgeous title track was sung by Garfunkel alone, despite his resistance, he felt, I should have done it, Simon told Rolling Stone in 1972, and many times I'm sorry I didn't do it. Wow, I didn't know that. Did they come up with Bridge Over Troubled Water? I feel like that's like a gospel hymn. If they wrote that song, that is literally like one of the most classic songs ever. I feel like that's like an old gospel hymn they would have covered. I don't hate Simon and Garfunkel, honestly. You would think that I would with my proclivity to not like hippie folk music, but I don't know. There's just something about their harmonies. Their voices are so pretty and clean, and they harmonize so well together. And the fact that I'm in a band that does a lot of harmonies, I kind of have a big respect for harmonies. 173, Nirvana in Utero. Kind of shows you how little people liked the follow-up to Nirvana's Nevermind if In Utero goes all the way to number 173, but it definitely was a lot rougher and harsher than Nevermind was. Nevermind had a lot more commercial viability than In Utero. It's hard for me to even listen to In Utero. It's just, I don't know. It's depressing. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Although I could say that about a lot of Nirvana's music. This album in particularly is depressing and just kind of dark, man. I think especially armed with the knowledge that like a year later Kurt Cobain would commit suicide, it just adds that extra layer of darkness and heaviness to this album. After Nevermind went mega platinum, Kurt Cobain detested how the band had drawn frat boys and homophobe fans. I can totally agree with that sentiment. If my band ever got big, you have to deal with the shitty fans that you get. And so I totally understand like all the bros and the chads and the frat douches liking your music. That would suck. That would be such a shitty feeling. Plankton is what Kurt called them, adding, don't come to our shows and don't buy our records. I love that, dude. I love that, like, Kurt, like, stood for that, you know? Like, he was like, I don't fucking want your popularity. You are not good people. I totally respect him more now. Nirvana hired indie rock producer Steve Albini to record their new album, resulting in a recorded, sonically forbidding album enough that Geffen Records asked them to clean it up. In Senseless Apprentice, he screams, go away, at no one and everyone, summarizing this powerfully unsettling third album. Melodies peek through the clouds of his wrath, especially on All Apologies, Dumb, and Pennyroyal Tea, but the prevailing mood is queasy, like a visit to the inside of Kurt Cobain's aching stomach. I could agree, the queasiness factor. I guarantee you back in 2003, this album was a lot higher. But they kind of realized, you know, it's not as great. 174, Jimmy Cliff and Various Artists, The Harder They Come original soundtrack. I literally don't know anything about this album. I'm just going to skip it. 175, Kendrick Lamar, Damn. I'm surprised this album is as low on the list, seeing as To Pimp a Butterfly is so high on the list, and it's still relatively new. To Pimp a Butterfly, that is. Now, again, this album only came out 3 years ago, so literally the fact that it's this high on the list and it's only 3 years old kind of says a lot too at the same time. So anyway, I'm reading the comments right now. That's a stupid attitude to have towards your fans. What, to not want homophobes and frat douches to like your music? I don't think that's a stupid attitude. I don't want homophobes and people like that to like my band's music either. There's a video channel here that plays La Nirvana on a block called Jock Rock. Jesus Christ. Go figure. So yeah, anyway, Damn, I feel like definitely was more of a singles-oriented album and not so much of this conceptual masterpiece as To Pimp a Butterfly was. And I feel like that's why it got so low. I mean, it definitely did have some songs that like hit really hard and were good, but it didn't really have his that album oriented feel. It definitely had more of a singles feel to it. You know, it was more made for individual singles meant for radio rather than To Pimp a Butterfly, where a lot of the tracks on To Pimp a Butterfly bled into each other, so it was actually quite hard to cut a single off that album without having a skit that's in it or a skit that's at the end of it. So maybe that's the reason why they did that. Moving on, in at 176, Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet. Now, why did It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back get so high up on the list, and this is so far down? Let's see what they have to say. Public Enemy derived the title of their pyrophoric third album from the writing of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, a professor who theorized that the purpose of racism was to assure white genetic survival. That's her speaking in the few bars of Meet the G That Killed Me. The lyrical flap surrounding Welcome to the Terror Dome couldn't overwhelm Public Enemy's widescreen version of hip-hop, which included the righteous noise of Fight the Power, the uplifting sentiment of Brothers Gonna Work It Out, and the aged funk of 9/11 is a joke, or 911 is a joke. Huh. Okay. I don't care about Public Enemy. I'm sorry. I think they're old school hip hop, the old school rap. I mean, whether it's Beastie Boys or Public Enemy or whoever, it just doesn't age well to me. The beats sound plasticky and cheap. The frequencies never really hit that. It's missing a lot of the production that you hear now. And I think for old rock albums, they can get away with it more because they're not so bass reliant. But hip hop is a very bass reliant genre, and it's really nerving to hear a hip hop song that lacks any kind of bass to it, and that's how a lot of those old school hip hop albums were mixed. Let me see. Skits and rap albums, I'm reading a comment here. Skits and rap albums was a 90s thing, so for Kendrick Lamar to do it and do it well made Butterfly a great album, but his bars go hard. I know. I mean, I remember reading articles where music hipster critics are like, rap skits are so a thing in the past and they should stay in the past because they're bad and blah, blah, but not when you do them right. See, rappers started to do ridiculously dumb ass skits that did nothing to make the album better. Kendrick Lamar was trying to paint a narrative, and a serious narrative of that, and it just added to the songs. Honestly, it was really good, especially the end where he reads the poem to Tupac. Like, Jesus Christ, what a chilling, gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Public Enemy are way too outdated now. I agree. Their message, it might not be outdated, as far as racial injustice and all that, but man, their music and Flavor Flav, I cannot convey to you guys just how much Flavor Flav fucks up the songs. Like, just let Chuck D do his thing. Like, Flavor Flav is just a fucking buffoon. Like, he's an idiot. Like, I remember him on that VH1 celebrity show where all the faded B-list celebrities lived together in the same house, and he was fucking so annoying even on that show. And I think he ended up dating Brigitte Nielsen. I don't know if that was just a angle that they drummed up for the show, but anyway. 177, Rod Stewart, Every Picture Tells a Story. I don't know, man. To me, Rod Stewart was a 70s pop star. I don't really feel like he ever wrote anything that had any kind of heavy substance to it. Honestly, like, I feel like Rod Stewart is music that, like, my grandma from up north would like. For whatever reason, he reminds me of my grandma from up north. All right. Flavor of Love was an amazing show. Yeah, if you say so, man. All right, moving on. 178, Otis Redding, Otis Blue. I mean, he's a classic guy. Good for him. I've never listened to any of his stuff, but I'm good for you. Proud of your legacy or whatever. Notorious B.I.G. Life After Death. Man, we've had 2 Notorious B.I.G. albums on this list. One of them, Ready to Die, was like really high on this list. It's not one Tupac album yet. Not one fucking Tupac album. Why does Rolling Stone hate Tupac so much? I understand that Tupac was a little bit more like hostile and violent, and maybe sometimes like his methods were a little too gangster for Rolling Stone to advocate. But I mean, fuck, Biggie talked about killing people just as much as Tupac did. He just did it in a more fatter voice. He didn't have as much anger because he was out of breath a lot of times. I don't know. I said it before in my last video. I don't care for Biggie's voice. He just sounds like he's out of breath half the time. Tupac had a much more like aggressive, strident kind of rap delivery that I just liked more. And I can't believe there's not been one single Tupac album on this list yet. But yeah, anyway. Life After Death should have been a single album. What was it, a double album? Oh yeah, this 2 CD set. Jesus Christ. A double album, a double rap album. That it's hard for any artist to sell a double album, but a double rap album, the only band I can see, or the only rap group I could see getting away with that would be Outkast, because, you know, Andre had his side and Big Boy had his other side, you know, the other side of the album. 1967, Love Forever Changed. I've never heard of Love. I have nothing to say about this album. It came out forever ago. Let's move on. 181, Bob Dylan, Bring It All Back Home. Something interesting. This is 181. I gotta pull this up. This is just so interesting how this shit changes. YouTube. So on the Rolling Stone 2003 list that I was telling you about, that album, Bringing It All Back Home, let me see here. A lot of fucking Dylan and Beatles in the top. Look at how different this list is in 2003. I just can't get over it. Look at how much higher up Joshua Tree was in this 2003. It was 27. Okay, in 2003, this Bob Dylan album is 31. In 2020, it dropped all the way down to 181. Like, what did Bob Dylan do to these people in between this time? I don't know. I don't care about Bob Dylan either way. It's just interesting how much that album dropped. James Taylor in it, number 182 with Sweet Baby James. I was gonna like pin James Taylor as this folky kind of, you know, whatever. But someone sang a James Taylor song at one of my karaoke gigs the other day called Steamroller. That shit actually kind of actually rode, man. Has some balls. So maybe he's all right. I don't know. 183, D'Angelo. Again with the D'Angelo. Who cares about D'Angelo? Why is he on this list so much? Who was the writer who compiled this list who just was this big D'Angelo fan? This is like a C-list R&B singer from the fucking 90s. I don't understand what D'Angelo is doing all up on this list. Let me see the lyrics here. Or the comments, rather. Not even me against the world. This is Tupac's magnum opus. Puff Daddy padded it out to make more money. Oh, yeah, probably so. Bob Dylan has one of the most horrible voices. Yeah, dude, I gotta agree. I hate Bob Dylan's voice. He aged out. Bob Dylan died. That's what he did. Is Bob Dylan dead? I think he's still alive, isn't he? That could be like a really silly question if he did actually die. I think he's still alive, honestly. Bob Dylan is D'Angelo. Sure, I love random fucking comments like that. Shit makes me laugh. Take a hit of this guy. I need some nicotine. I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, Bob is. I thought he was. I didn't think he. Dude, if he died, you'd be hearing about it all over the place. You know, the funny thing is, no one's talking about Bob Dylan right now. But as soon as he dies, the amount of artists that are gonna come out and be like, "Oh my God, he changed everything. He's so important. He's so fucking awesome." Blah blah. It's just like, why don't you say it to these people when they're alive? You know, why you gotta wait till they die? And at number 184, Cyndi Lauper, She's So Unusual. Is this the one that has Girls Just Want to Have Fun on it? Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, you know, Cyndi Lauper was one of those larger-than-life characters of the 1980s. She was in the whole We Are the World video, you know. She was a big, you know, thing in the 80s. She was different. She was quirky. She had a god-awful, annoying voice, although I will say Time After Time is a good song. So, take that with whatever you will. Okay, in at number 185, we have Rolling Stones' Beggar's Banquet. I mean, it's a Rolling Stones album, so of course they're going to put it here. I don't care, man. It'd be interesting to. I like the graffiti on the wall here. Bob Dylan's Dreams, and it's like shit pointing to the toilet. I bet there's a lot of inside jokes on this graffiti. It's funny. Whatever. Good for you, Rolling Stones. Oh, sweet. An album I actually like, by a band I actually like. 186, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Red Hot Chili Peppers. No one ever disputed the boisterous energy of the Red Hot Chili Peppers music. It was only a matter of whether these funky monks could write riffs and songs that stood alongside their idols. On the studio album, they got the balance right. They went touchy-feely and multi-platinum with the ballad Under the Bridge, the biggest of the album's 5-hit singles. In addition, guitarist John Frusciante brought energizing, soulful, songful riffs. Producer Rick Rubin kept the song streamlined and free of juvenilia, and Anthony Kiedis brought a new degree of simplicity to his singing. This isn't my favorite album by them. Californication is my favorite album. The only reason I haven't done a tier list on this band yet is because I'm not familiar enough with their earlier 80s material to have an informed opinion, because those first few albums they did in the 80s were really rough. Anthony Kiedis' lyric writing sometimes can be really cringy, and his rapping can be even cringier. But they're still a goddamn really good band, and I cannot wait to hear what they put out with now that Jean Frusciante has rejoined the band. I don't know why I keep saying Jean Frusciante, like Jean-Benet Ramsey, but whatever. 187, Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted. 6 months after quitting NWA, the group's most gifted lyricist returned with a vengeance on America's Most Wanted, recorded with Public Enemy's production crew, The Bomb Squad. Lyrically, it sharpened NWA's politics. Why more, I can't say it because it's not politically correct, why more N-words in the pen than in college? Cubass. On the N you love to hate, the album's rapacious sexism has aged horrendously, though. Give Cube some credit for being smart enough to include the stunning It's a Man's World, in which female rapper Yo-Yo tells him off straight to his face. I mean, there's a lot of sexism in rap to this day. Women are referred to as bitches and just sex objects a lot of times, and that's a problem that is still in rap music, and I find it quite irritating. I know I talk about being woke and all, but I mean, Jesus, I can agree that you should respect women, and rap music, sometimes it makes me fucking blush, the disgusting shit they say about women in a lot of their songs. They literally just talk about them like they're a piece of meat, and that's one of the things I don't like about a lot of rap music. Although Kendrick Lamar is not like that. Yet another reason why he's awesome. T-Rex, Electric Warrior. I feel like T-Rex is another one of those kind of under the radar bands that hipsters seem to like. I hear them get brought up a lot in kind of hip, music critic circles. I don't really have an opinion on them. Bang a Gong is a pretty cool song. And that's about all I got. All right, moving on. 189, Slater-Kenny, Dig Me Out. Oh, that sounds sexual. I Want to Be Your Joey Ramone, Corinne Tucker promised on Slater-Kenny's 96 album Call the Doctor. Their next record made good on the mythic ambition when drummer Jeanette Weiss joined the singer-guitarist Tucker and Carrie Brownstein. A Riot Girl Force of Nature became one of the world's most potent rock bands. The only thing I really care about Slater-Kenny is that Carrie Brownstein was in Portlandia, which was like the best show I've ever seen that lampooned hipsters and hipster culture. I highly recommend you go check out Portlandia. Very good show and slightly underrated. In at 190, The Who, Tommy. I mean, this is like a fucking concept record that a lot of people really liked. I never really listened to it, but I'm surprised that it's this low, but then again, I'm not surprised because it's fucking Rolling Stone. In at 191, Etta James at Last. She was a classic, R&B crooner. The song At Last is a song that's still played at weddings to this day. Good for her. And at 192, Beastie Boys' License to Ill. I believe this album definitely should have been a lot higher up because, I mean, essentially this was the first popular white rap group. Secondly, they have stood the test of time. They would still be making records to this day had MCA not died of throat cancer back a few years ago. This album just really kind of was really innovative for the time and should have been a lot higher than fucking D'Angelo. God. 193, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Willie and the Poor Boys. I mean, CCR is a legendary band, classic band. I'm getting burnt out here, so I cannot wait until I reach number 200 so I can call it a night. But, I mean, for fuck's sake, you got John Fogerty spawned from CCR, and he's just a beast. So, yeah. They should have been probably higher up on the list, but Rolling Stone hates rock, so there you go. 194, Michael Jackson, Bad. I can guarantee you had Surviving Neverland or whatever that documentary that came out 2 years ago. Had that not come out, this album would be much higher on the list. Now, I will say that Bad sounds kind of dated now. Thriller, for whatever reason, sounded a little bit more timeless than Bad did. Bad very much was an album of the 80s. But there's still some jams on there. But yeah, it's very 80s sounding. 195, Leonard Cohen, Songs of Leonard Cohen. Now, I know this guy is like kind of legendary, critically acclaimed, whatever. Good for him. I never really heard his music. 196, Robin, Bodytalk. Robin is an electronic... I heard of her recently because someone compared our music to her, and I think she's good. I liked what I heard. I need to listen to more of it. Robin had a few Swedish teen pop hits in the 90s, which that kind of blows my mind, but she's a worldly adult on Body Talk. This was the voice of a woman who knew how it felt to shed tears on the dance floor. That's kind of a stupid thing to whatever. She released Body Talk in 3 mini-album installments on her own Konnichiwa label before cherry-picking the highlights for this epochal feminist disco statement. Dancing on My Own, yeah, that was a big song. Became this century's answer to I Will Survive. She told Rolling Stone, I was pushing through the challenges and getting off on that liberating feeling, being able to explore desperation and passion, frustration, and all that. 197, The Beatles, Meet the Beatles. This is one of their first, if not their first album that ever came out. So, of course, this is going to be on the list somewhere. Although, again, if this was 2003, this would be much higher up on the list. You guys still out there? Is my stream still working? Yes, it is. No one's commented for a while. I was just wondering. All right. 198, the B-52s. They kind of had that thrift store chic. Their sound is just really wacky. They came from the same city as REM. In fact, they were friends with REM. The singer Kate Pearson would sing on a couple of REM cuts later on in REM's career. I mean, Love Shack, that you can't go to a single wedding reception without hearing that goddamn song. I like them pretty good, about all I have to say about B-52s. Pavements at 199, Slanted and Enchanted. I know Pavement was definitely the indie sweethearts to this day. They're still talked about with reverence by the hipster community. The indie crowd. I have never been able to get into this band. Their music just doesn't do it for me. So there you go. And finally, to conclude this list, in at number 200, Sade, Diamond Life. Sade is the shit. I fucking love her voice. Fantastic voice. Great music. Man, I can't... Smooth Operator and Love Is Your King. I can't believe this album came out in 84. This shit sounds timeless. You listen to Smooth Operator, that sounds like it could have came out yesterday. Sade's awesome. I love her music. All right, and that is the second installment of my Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this entire list unless you guys want me to. I'll do a part 3. I have other videos that I'm trying to get out. I want to do a video on... I got a bunch of different things coming up. Obviously, Trip Hop is one of them now. My band Dancing with Ghosts is going to be releasing our new music video and single Obsidian Blood this Saturday on YouTube, so make sure you tune in and please watch that video. Get those views and interaction up so it gets boosted higher and more people see it and all that. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Until next time, let me know if you want to see a part 3, and I hope everybody has a good rest of their night.